in the library in Roswell just a few weeks ago. And anybody that hasn't watched that interview yet, you should watch it. It's pretty cool. What we found was that we've been doing all the same stuff, just calling it by different names and running on very parallel paths, but just with no association with each other. And it was phenomenal to see how much we had in common. And this is a big part of what sparked the whole real push for unity that we're doing. And he got excited as well. It was a brilliant discussion, and then we started trying to figure out how we can collaborate and cooperate. And so we had Sasha on a Skype video call. This is going to be audio only, but we had him on a video call when we were in Norway, and Michael Tellinger. Michael Tellinger is the founder of the Ubuntu movement in South Africa. He's actually running for president in South Africa. The first thing that he's going to do if he's elected is dissolve the government. So this guy's just doing great work down there in South Africa. He's very familiar with OPPT and the filings that have been done, UCC. He uses them for his work. And now Sasha, one of the first things that we did when we got into contact with him is we sent him all the filings for all his attorneys to look at for the New Earth Project, which is an offspin of an organization that he founded called Humanitat. And after his lawyers went through everything, he realized, holy cow, why are we using these things for our work? And now they're implementing them into the New Earth Project. The New Earth Project, I'm going to show a video here in a second, but what it has inspired this discussion with Mel V. Mel V, some of you know her interviews from Freedom Central, and she's kind of like Lisa in a way. She did a lot of YouTube interviews, put a lot of really good stuff out. Now she's working, doing the whole Swiss Indo thing, and for those of you in the room that aren't familiar with that, you're going to have to look at that one on your own time, because it would take hours to explain. But just another really motivated and powerful being that's really pushing to get information out to the people so people can make more informed decisions. And I actually had a talk with Mel on the phone the other day. Truth be told, we got into it a little bit on Skype and because of an interview that she did, and I questioned her on it. And we followed up, and we decided that what really needs to happen right now is that, like I said earlier, we need to put our differences aside and focus on a common vision. And she became very inspired. We had a beautiful talk. I wish we would have recorded it and put it out. It would have inspired a lot of people, because we got from a place of putting the stuff that we don't agree on to the side to focus on where we do. And that's, now she's pushing to get all the various movements, for lack of a better word, harmonizing with one another. And that's ultimately what inspired this talk with Mel and Sasha. We don't really have an agenda, like we usually don't. We're just going to have a discussion. And really the theme is how can people get involved? You know, we got a lot of very motivated people in this room and outside of this room that they just want to participate. They want to get involved. They just don't know what to do, or where to go, who to talk to, or what's available. So we need to have these discussions so that people can know, you know, and start to resonate with what they're being inspired and called to do. We all feel like we have Dharma in this world. We all feel like we have a purpose, and some of us feel as if we found it, and there's others that are still looking for it. I mean, we're all doing it just by being here. We're always doing it, but sometimes people need a little bit more clarity as to what they should be doing next, what their next move should be, who they want to involve themselves with, what they want to create, you know. And that's kind of the theme of where this is all headed, is people want to create together, and they want to harmonize with one another. So we're going to have a talk about that. We're calling it the Global Unity Chat. And I don't think there's anything else to share other than that. Other than I'm a little bit disappointed that Bob only auctioned for $35, but other than that...
10 million!
Now I'm talking.
50.
Well, I see where this is going. Without the hat, $50, I get it, but with that hat, easily $11 million.
2 cents.
Does anybody have any questions before we play the New Earth Project video and get without further ado, you're going to want to expand that screen back out. You're going to toggle it over to the right and down. Anybody want to watch Jesus' resurrection? Okay. Toggle the screen over to the right. Oh, there you go. See the little X down there? Go on the screen. No, not to the bottom. Put the mouse up. Go on the screen. Mouse. Go on to the. No, down. Go down next to the video. See the little X? Right there.
Steadfast devotion to the gods of fear, time, and money, humankind was led to manifest a world covered by scarcity, competition, and sorrow. A new planetary metric for peaceful coexistence, human sovereignty, and abundance. It invites conscious, ethical, self-determining people of the world to cooperate in establishing a global network of communities which foster human and planetary well-being and sustainability, redefining the principles that govern our lives. This is not a future dream, but a living reality which, given the consent of the people of the world, can now be realized in thousands of communities across the globe. We have built a dedicated network of pioneers from all nations and faiths, each committed to manifesting this new reality. Our team includes many of the world's leading experts in sustainable development, permaculture, socioeconomics, quantum technologies, education and healing, and sovereignty and law. Stand with us in this great awakening as we unite in dreaming a new dream where our world transcends fear, time, and money into art, beauty, and consciousness.
When we first got together with Sasha, with Michael Tellinger, one of the things that we realized coming together, when you're not dealing with corporate profit, when you're not dealing with the idea of what's affordable, when you're not dealing with the whole corporate and commercial structure, so much is possible when we all just get together and put our ideas on the table. We found that we had a platform where we can literally restructure this planet. Everybody had a piece, and all the different movements that were going on had very similar ideas, but different focuses. You know, the One People kind of focused a lot on the filings and sovereignty, whereas the Ubuntu movement focused on community, you know, and establishing a community without money, where the New Earth Project had its particular focus on the ideas of unity, self-sustainability, permaculture, and all of those things coming together is an amazing, amazing prospect. Everybody's been getting ideas, and it occurred to me that these ideas of these communities that everyone was kind of gravitating to was the 100th Monkey Effect taking place. But it was also something more. We were receiving messages from ourselves, from our future selves, of a new world that we want to move into. So right now, we're in the process. If you understood exactly where we are at the point in the popcorn analogy, you know, you put popcorn in a microwave or however you're cooking your popcorn, right? Eventually you get and all of a sudden everything just starts popping all over the place. Well, we're at that point where it's more than 1 or 2, 3 pops a second. You know, right at that critical point where everything is just about to go. This, bar none, is the best time to be alive. What you are witnessing is historical on a universal scale. And you're all here as the forerunners of a new planet. And we're going to do it. It's already done. But we're going to do it, and we're going to do it together, and we're going to do it without raising a single sword, a single gun, no violence, and no one will be left behind. Not a single one. So in order to get a better overview on what is really going on, you're talking about a movement. When you put all these groups together, you're talking about hundreds of millions of people. Literally, hundreds of millions of people. And that is just, I mean, how many people in the United States? 300 million? 325 million. Pull that right off. 325 million. We got that, right? What can we do? Let's talk about it. We have, Melday first, or they're both coming out together? Really?
Hello, Lisa. Hi, Thomas.
Say hi, everyone. So, we got you guys on audio. It's on my phone, so we're going to do our best to try to maneuver around the same complications we had in Norway. So, we're going to talk into the phone, but also the microphone. Can you guys hear it okay on your end? Microphone. Can you guys?
Yeah? You coming back? Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Clear? You guys hear it? So,
I'm hearing a lot of feedback, a lot of echo.
a lot of echo. Okay. Well, we're not talking. I'll mute. Can you tell me if there's echo when you guys talk?
No, I'll mute the microphone.
Hey, Mel, Sasha here.
I'll mute that.
Hey, Sasha.
I'm still hearing a lot of echo.
So, we're having this brilliant chat on Unity. We thought we'd pull you guys in.
Right.
And, you know, Sasha, I just got done playing your New Earth Project video. You got a very loud round of applause here again for everyone really excited about what you and your group are doing. And Mel, I explained that we would have to save the description of the Swiss endo thing to another day because we just didn't have enough time to cover it. But most of the people in the room are familiar with both of you guys' work, but really what we want to do is just kind of have a free flow conversation and just chat about what we're all doing as far as independently, and then ultimately what we can do to start collaborating. I told the group about Mel our conversation from the other day that we had. Do you want to, from your perspective, kind of summarize what some of what we spoke about there as far as what we decided that could be an action step moving forward?
Sure, of course. Right, first off, who am I talking to? I don't even know where the audience are.
Oh, we are coming to you live from Palm City Beach, Florida. And we're in a Unity Church.
Wow, okay, well, hello to everybody there. It's so great to be connected across the world. And one of the great things about this day and age is that you can literally reach out and touch the life or connect with or share information with absolutely anybody around the world. And just the fact that we are joining you all tonight is a perfect example of just how each and every one of us can make the effort in reaching out and bringing unity. All the people that I've been, whether it's Lisa, whether it's Brian, or even Sasha, I have met them through different ways, on different paths, but ultimately working towards the same ultimate purpose. Sasha I met last year at the Breakthrough Energy Movement Conference, which was held in Amsterdam. That was in November 2012. Lisa, I met Lisa. I actually approached Lisa after I saw one of her interviews and realized she's probably one of the most astute interviewers out there, and someone who gave a huge amount of respect to me right from the get-go. And of course, I got to know Brian Kelly when I became aware of the OPPT stuff and became friendly with Heather Tucci-Durant. And just in being what I do with Freedom Central, doing what I do, having gone down these individual roads, met these individual people, it's now occurred to me, and through the conversations I've had with various people very recently, how important it is now for all of us doing our various bits of work, whatever it may be, that we pull together and start bringing a unified front to this search for freedom. Because we certainly can't do it alone. We've all great ideas, we've all done the research, we all know how to go about this. But we cannot do it alone. Every man for himself has never worked, and it's about time we all start putting it together. And yes, this is the reason we've all decided to join in on this tonight.
Beautiful. Well, Mel, what does your vision for the future look like for Mel V?
Wow, sure. You know, Brian, so many people that question, and I guess really I look at it from a personal perspective of I am now 37, I've been married for 12 years, and I want to have kids. But I've not yet been able to bring myself to do it in 12 years of marriage, simply because I've recognized that my children simply can't expect to inherit a fair, just, peaceful, sustainable world unless that is a fair expectation for every other child on this planet. So that's what it looks like for me, is let's obviously start bringing that reality about. Let's start making an expectation. Let's start giving that freedom to humanity. Let's start bringing it for ourselves and creating it for the next generation. You know, we are the people we've been waiting for, and certainly the children that we want to bring into the world must be the ones who can take this forward. So I think the world for me going forward is looking at creating great education systems that are not benign and, you know, retarding to the mind. It's creating sustainable environments. It's creating great renewable, sustainable energy sources, and of course making, you know, basic services and things like basic medicines and basic healthcare, all, you know, virtually available to everybody, but not the pharmaceutical junk that we're pumped with, but holistic, natural, life-giving healthcare, and the same with food. re-educating people on how to feed themselves. And, you know, I just think that there's a whole re-education process that needs to go on here. So it's up to everybody to find each individual little part, and mine has really been in the, you know, whatever small part it is, you just jump into the alternative media world, create a bit of, you know, info, stick it out there, and, you know, whatever that might mean to somebody, hopefully it might heal a perception here, just change a life there, and that's all it's ever been about for me. And in doing that, I think we are getting there, you know, and we're making those connections through each and every little part that we play to this.
Yes, and they're all important pieces, and no one individual or group has them all. How about you, Sasha? Vision for the future.
Yeah, my vision is fairly comprehensively laid out, and it's called the New Growth Project. So I don't think I need to go into too much detail, but of course I love Mel out of everything she says, but I would also underscore the need to de-educate ourselves as opposed to educate, and to remember our beauty and our majesty and who we truly are, and to revisit all that we think we know, and in so doing, perhaps suspend ideas of what the future might look like, and actually address the present, address the now in an absolute sense, and engage with notions such as bliss and serendipity, and heartfulness and mindfulness. And these majestic aspects of the human condition can only be realized if we are sitting in the present and truly engaging with our footsteps. What am I doing today to innovate that vision into manifestation? What am I thinking? What are my thought forms? What are the words that come out of my mouth? How am I contributing at the practical level, at the scalar level, at the energetic level to manifesting that vision in the now? I seriously believe that humanity has had a predisposition for dreaming for many millennia, and for envisioning a greater world, a greater horizon. We've done that for millennia. And I don't know that it has actually served us as well as it could have, precisely because we have not yet been able to engage with ourselves in the now and own the actuation of our hearts and our minds in the present. So I don't want to get into a Zen tutorial here, but I just want us all to remember that as well as holding great visions, we have to anchor those visions in a living, breathing present.
Excellent. You know, one of the things that we talked about here earlier, you know, is that within humanity and within all the people, we have all of the tools. We have all of the solutions to create this world and to create it right now. You know, there's technologies that exist and skill sets within the people that we could truly start with. Like one of the things that you said in your video, Sasha, is that with the consent of the people of the world, these things all become possible. And so one of the comments that I received from those out there that are skeptical that we have the ability to make true progress and build into this new paradigm now is that there's too many people in the world that are still sleeping. It's going to take too long to wake everybody up. Mel and or Sasha, both of you, what do you see as being, if we really start to push on this front of unity and a common vision, what's the element in both of your minds and hearts that allows us to set the stage for outreach, to let people know in the world, in all the tucked away corners of the world and in our backyards, what's going on and how they can get involved?
Do you want to hit that Mel or too?
You go first, Sasha.
Okay, well, there's two things. And again, going back to the spiritual dimension, when we are in our senses and we are in alignment, so to speak, we have capacity then, these subtle levels of consciousness, to engage with people around us, our families, our communities, our societies, our nations, and the planet at large. And at that subtle level, we're able to affect change by anchoring pure vision and so on. So on one hand, I would suggest that if we're serious about broadcasting noble expression to the world, that we have to be in that center and do so, a living present. But if you're talking about how do we engage with the world at large in the explicit sense, then obviously we need to make use of the World Wide Web and technology to do that. Let me just throw a little sideboard curveball in here. In the last 24 hours, the whole of the United Kingdom has come to a standstill. I don't know if any of you have seen the BBC headlines, but no airplanes and able to land effectively in today. And that is because there was a quote-unquote glitch in the telephone network connecting all of the airports of Great Britain. And that's caused a $1 billion standstill of all air traffic. It does make us consider that there are powers that be who have the capacity to hit switches. And the world telecom circuitry can come to a standstill effectively. It is not a safe thing to imagine we can connect community through technology. The solar flares that are emanating at the frequency and on the increase, and which will be on the increase for the foreseeable future, are also liable to cause massive electromagnetic pulse, charge, and disruption to the EM grid of the Earth, and subsequently the technosphere is in dire threat. So that's something you all need to be mindful of. I remember speaking to Jose Abuelas, the great Mayan shaman, who's the man who decoded the long-term Solcan and put 2012 on the map, effectively. And he was warning me about this many years ago. But it's a consideration. To get back to the practical answer of mine, what we're addressing within the New Earth project, and we're very keen to engage with you guys on, is the portal that we're launching. Actually, we're launching the first phase in 3 weeks' time. And the second phase will launch in April, start of April 2014. But that portal we're building up now is a multi-level touchstone for people and communities all around the planet. And I honestly think it's going to be the most comprehensive touchstone bringing people together. It's also the uniformed gateway that we're creating to invite people all around the world to sign that declaration of sovereignty and establish their own corporate record, and then establish the proxy and lead their individual courts of record and declarations of sovereignty into a unified one, which is de facto New Earth Nation, which we are launching next year, and that will then represent the interests of people and communities under God's law, natural justice. It will enforce its own law, which we've already established, under a tribunal, international tribunal of natural justice, and so on. So these are all aspects to the greater conversation which we're very much looking forward to having with you guys in March at those locations. So.
Awesome. Mel, do you want to elaborate, or do you want to touch on that one as well?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much going on, so many different fronts, and it's so great that we're actually talking. And a few of the things that I really do want to touch on, because they're areas in which I've paid specific attention to. And these are really going to be the cornerstones of what we're building going forward. And that is going to be, obviously, the law side of things, which Sasha's already touched on, and I've been quite intricately involved with. And they are, at the moment, actually having common law grand juries in the United States. So the structure structures are already being put into place and the practicalities are already rolling out. These things are already happening, people. That's the great thing. It's already getting going. It's not now we're still talking about it. These things are actually happening. And these grand jury verdicts are now coming about and are being rendered. So there is movement in this direction. There's wonderful material being put together by lots of amazing people. And as Sasha said to me, I spoke to him, I think it's a week or so ago, I interviewed him. He says he called himself an architect in the source code. And there are so many architects in source code coming out from these amazing people doing amazing work and putting it all together now. This is, I guess, the whole point of what we're doing is this unity and the collaboration and collection of the absolute data to find the most refined way of creating the ultimate peaceful, just and sustainable society. And there's no way we're going to get it all right the first time. Rome wasn't built in a day, it certainly ain't going to be deconstructed in a day, but it has to be deconstructed first, and we do need to repurpose some of the old structures that are there. And I guess as well, this is sort of where I was speaking to Sasha, a lot of our perception has to shift. You've got the very asleep people who don't know what the hell is going on and still go and vote for Obama. You've got the people who've woken up and realised now there's an inside job, but they're very stuck in duality, There's good guys and bad guys. Then you've got sort of the people who have probably emotionally, spiritually matured a bit more into this information, beginning to understand, all right, if we are truly going to make a difference on this planet, now is the time we need to put aside all the hatred, all the anger, and actually realize that, some of these people who are working in the highest places actually probably want a way out. Now's the time to reach out to them. Now's the time to repurpose the old structures that are there. We can't actually completely destroy everything that's there and start from scratch. We simply just won't be able to function. We are going to have to repurpose the existing structures into structures and people-orientated mechanisms that aren't cannibalizing and using the individual to manipulate each other in order to survive. So this is where I see us going next, and it's happening. We're watching it happen. We're watching people within various high organizations. You mentioned Swiss Indo earlier, Brian. Yes, Swiss Indo is a good example of how parts of the United Nations have actually been used for the benefit of the people and are actually being repurposed. So there is all this going on. And of course, Sasha himself, through his work with Humanitas, has actually worked with the United Nations as well. And he has assured me, when I was still banging on about how bad the United Nations were, he was telling me, there are good people there, are people who go to the United Nations wanting to make a difference, and they're just as despondent. Now is the time that we need to be reaching out and building these bridges, because I think everybody's starting to realize that things can't get much worse. If we don't actually start doing something about it, we are in a very dire situation. Every day, people are losing their homes. We've got 50,000 children a day dying of starvation, preventable illnesses in Africa. To me, being from South Africa, that to me is not acceptable. I don't see how a truly evolved society can neglect its poorest and its weakest and its most vulnerable. I think if we are truly going to evolve as a society and we're going to build ourselves into that place where we need to be looking to be going, we need to start focusing on those people who have nothing and who perhaps need our help most.
This is Bob right now and Sasha. One of the things that I wanted to highlight is the difference about right now, as in any other time, is the world is connected in a way that has never been connected before. We have the ability to communicate all over the globe instantaneously. We also have technology that's available, and we have the ability to do things that in the past were never even conceived of as being possible. There's a lot of things that we really don't need to focus on. And one is that the deconstruction of the system, it's kind of doing that on its own. We can hurry it along, but I think if you sneeze hard enough, a lot of these structures will fall and implode upon themselves. what we decided, as a group, that we were going to focus on building something to move into. Not focusing on deconstructing the old, but repurposing, just like you said, and moving into something that, is more sustainable and more available, that people can literally step into another paradigm. And this is what I know is possible. And these may be big claims, but I think we all know what we don't want. I'm looking forward to a time where no resident will ever say, I am sick. Where no one ever has to worry about how am I going to survive till my next paycheck. Where every person, every man, woman, and child who was ever born on earth, their survival and sustenance, clothing, shelter, and basic needs are assured, that they're not conditional upon what tax bracket you might be born into, what part of the world you may be born into. I believe that all of that technology is possible right now. We have it. The only thing is that we've been living in structures that have controlled the distribution, the dissemination of information, so that people have become so focused on surviving that they don't even know that there is an alternative available. So by coming together, with the Ubuntu movement, with the New Earth Project, with Fix the World, and all these different things that are working towards building that new society, I believe that all we need to do is point, this is where you can go. You can step in.
Well, I think that's beautiful. It's so lovely for you to say this, and you're so right. All of those technologies and those approaches to remediate our social ecology have hitherto been forced into the existing paradigm. They've been forced into the existing marketplace. They've been forced into the existing infrastructures, meaning to say, anyone who came up with a great macroeconomic reformation plan was forced to sit down with the House of Rothschild and the Canaanite bankers, and was then forced to issue their own ideas within an existing toxic framework, so they never actually manifested any paradigm shift. Anyone who came up with any technological breakthroughs and innovations was forced into the patent office scenario, and then into the compliance and regulatory provisions, which are all an eagle eye, and ensure that nothing paradigm shifting will actually get to the marketplace. So any brilliant ideas, any true breakthrough genius was never able to eventuate into the actual social ecology because of the proverbial psycho-intellectual condom that was provisioned and placed there by what I call the Babylonian priesthood. Okay, so now we need to address the question of sovereignty and of stepping outside of all of that imposed jurisdiction, because that's been the problem. So when we simply hit that trigger internally, all of us, and go, hang on, back the hell up. What are we doing? Continuously imagining that we can repurpose or reposition or reorient the game when it's taking place on the same old playing field. We have to actually leave the playing field altogether, no longer recognize it in any way, shape, or form, and begin to redefine what a playing field is. And I think that that's where what we're all talking about, the flashpoint that brings all of us together, and why we keep talking lately, and why we're going to continue talking, and we're going to work through this Rubicon together. It's really that we're entering into the transmutative, the transcendental imperative of this conversation, this narrative. And that is telling us that we need to step out of the fox's garden, so to speak, to use my favorite term at the moment, and start to build our own garden. And we can all do that. But it is that unified planetary, supranational, extraterritorial declaration, unified declaration of sovereignty, When we step out, establish our own universal code of record, planetary code of record, under consensus of like-minded, heartful human beings, under a covenant of fellowship. So again, leaving the invisible contracts with corporate nation states, and stepping into a covenant of fellowship. To my mind, it really keeps.
Sasha, did I tell you today that I love you? I absolutely love you.
That's very kind.
Agreed. What he just said, I agree. And in order to do that, what we really need to focus on is coordinating our efforts together. And I think that's, one of the historical things that we're doing right now in communicating these ideas to all of these separated, compartmentalized groups and organizations, to let them know that they're not alone, and that, when we come all together, most of the work is already done. We just really need to do the work of rebuilding what it is that we want. We all know what we don't want. We don't want hierarchy anymore. We don't want control. We don't want borders. We don't want money, to separate and segregate and isolate us into this, like you said, Babylonian paradigm that we've all been born into. So, we had talked about, coming together in Morocco and forming a sustainable community and using it as a model for what can be done around the planet. And I imagine these communities going up all over the world, and I think it can be done very quickly. We don't have to rebuild it. We inherit what's already there. We repurpose it and we use it for what it is that is sustainable, what it is that we really want to see. So how can people who are awakening to this idea, get involved? How can they contribute their energy, and what mechanism can we use in order to get the average everyday person who's sitting at home, wondering what it is that I personally can do in order to help?
I'd like to quickly say something, if I may, because it's so important what you just brought up. You said, what are the mechanics? And I will tell you, we're going to speak in terms of foundational mechanics. There are things like the time signature that has been interposed on humanity, again, by the Jesuit code, by the so-called Holy Roman Empire. The 1260 time signature is highly toxic to human spirit, highly toxic to planetary rhythms, human biorhythms. The fact that we have that time code, time zone that fractured and broken up all around the planet as a dominoes in allegiance to that 1260 time code. What that has served to do over a very long period of time historically is to fracture the zeitgeist, fracture the mindset of humanity, and interpose that Babylonian metric onto the human family, so that we don't, without natural resonance, we don't know when the sun's going to rise, when it's going to go down, when we should plant corn, when we should harvest. We were actually disconnected planetarily from our innate and intrinsic intuitive connection to the earth rhythms and the celestial rhythms of our solar system. This is a well-documented science I'm talking about here. So our capacity now to wake up and realize that so long as we continue to volunteer into not just servitude and wage slavery and paying taxes and all that ghastly nonsense, but the fact that we're also in allegiance to impose mind spelling of epic proportions, like the 1260 time coding. We need to introduce a new one. If you look at the foundation for the law of time and more.
Oh no.
One metric I wanted to speak about, which was the time signature, and the ramifications ramifications are huge. When we step out of that imposed time signature, we start to default into our natural resonant meridian, our natural resonant connection to Earth, biorhythms, and to the movement of the planets in our solar system. And there is a connectivity there that needs to re-engage. And this is connected to our junk DNA. This is connected to our so-called ascension coding, our immortal paradigm, and so on. And the Edenic principles that we lost in the so-called fall. But let's not go into that here. Another mechanic or metric that we need to address is sound. If all instruments and all radio stations and all television stations around the world started to conform to the 432 hertz frequency, the healing frequencies, we would have instantaneous illumination around the planet. We would throw the Babylonian serpent on its back instantaneously through sound and sound frequency alone. But again, we have had false frequencies interposed on us and have been used to sustain and maintain a fear matrix, for the absence of the capacity for the newest fear to actually engage. So that's another mechanical consideration that we really need to get in tune with. And thirdly, and arguably most importantly, is the AC, electrical currencies that we use, and the frequencies innate in electricity as we understand it today, is highly toxic to the human bioform and to planetary wellness. So we've got the mutation of human genome underway at a macro level all around the planet because of Wi-Fi, because of the electrical values that again have been foisted onto us. Tesla was onto this a long time ago and knew that we could be using effectively cold electricity. Electricity where a kitty puts their finger into a plug point and does not get a shock. But that electrical value is actually healing to the environment, healing to the human family. So again, these are simple things that we can actually begin to deploy within and amongst our homes, our communities, and we're going to be starting that in this year, 2014, coming up, within the New Earth communities, which we've already begun master planning in, as you know, about 40 countries now. That ends my sermon.
You know, Sasha, one of those metrics that you mentioned, I recently come into some information. Michael Jackson was planning on doing that with his tour, where he was literally making music at 432 hertz. He was going to use it as he went across the world to help wake the world up. And yes, we see what happened to him. But that's correct. These are simple adjustments that can be made that have profound effects on the human psyche and the human biology that I think anyone can agree with, that we can implement tomorrow if we all agree we want to do that. Another thing, you know, is that all of us working here together, you know, we have to collectively decide to stop doing what doesn't resonate with us. And that's something everyone personally has to take the responsibility to do. You know, to stop engaging in what we know does not work. And that also has a profound effect because the system as it's structured, it requires the cooperation of all parts. And once people stop cooperating with that system, the system has an extreme problem. It cannot function, it can't move forward. So I would add to that, people need to not necessarily focus on what to do, but immediately stop doing what you know does not work. And disengaging from those structures and disengaging from that paradigm.
Wonderful.
You know, one of the only ingredients, it's loud, that's, well, really the only ingredient that continues to allow these old systems to operate, the only ingredient is fear. You know, fear of the consequence of what happens if I stop paying my taxes, what happens if I stop paying my mortgage, what happens if I take my children out of brainwashing and mind-numbing schools. These are the things that everyday people are having to reconcile right now. And it's one of the major elements that allows us to continue to move forward in this direction with much more momentum and speed is the ability of us all as individuals to be able to once and for all reconcile and release that fear. Release those fears of consequence and release those fears of what could happen if I stand in my truth. When we stand in our truth and when we do it collectively and when we support each other, we show through our example that there really is nothing to fear, ever, and that it is part of the control and it is part of the program. Mel, you were going to mention, it sounded like you had something you wanted to say, and I just wanted to give you an opportunity to share on any of the points that we've covered off on. I will also want to give the audience here an opportunity to ask questions. Does anybody in the room? But before I do actually, Mel, if you have anything that you want to share in regards to any of this, by all means, the floor is yours.
Yeah, sure. That was a very good point. There's actually so many things that I want to comment on. Firstly, Bob mentioned we asked what everybody could do to contribute to, and I will get to that in a second because that's very important. But just to add to something Sasha was saying there, it's been a while since I've actually heard someone go into the whole, we're programmed by the time paradigm, because this is not very well-covered ground. And it's such an important one to actually be aware of. Many people who have looked at this information will have a basic understanding of symbolism and symbology. And if you just look, for example, at the face of the clock, having the, as Sasha said, 60 seconds with the 12, but there's another division that goes on. There's the vertical and horizontal cross, which are divided up into 3 and 4. And this is very much the same as the cross of the zodiac, which is the oldest conceptual image known to man. And this is also where you get the Maltese cross, which goes into the circle. And into theosophical symbolism, you'll know a little bit about Blavatsky talking about the circle and the point in the center being the start source of all creation. And when you start looking at how these things interlayer onto each other, again, I love what Sasha talks because it's exactly what it is. We're so programmed by all of us on so many multiple layers and levels. And it's a multi-layer, multi-sensory symbolic programming that we're not even aware of. So I'm so pleased Sasha's changing his time signature. I look forward to that one. Hopefully we can start all wearing new Earth watches and marching to a different beat.
Nice one. Well, actually, Mel, the consideration is really, I raised this last year in Amsterdam. You may or may not recall, I didn't particularly take root with anyone. I was trying to get a panel of experts at one point to engage on a premise, which to my mind is of critical import if we're to break this Gordian knot and transcend this white noise of the Babylonian confusion that we're all kind of entrenched in. And that is a singular recognition that time and money and fear are exactly the same thing. Not just the same value, they're actually the same thing. There is no separation between time, money, and fear. And I think when we actually get that, sit with that thought, walk around that, it's so empowering once we recognize that time, money, and fear is the triangulation that has caused this dream spelling.
For sure. And then obviously just to finish off what I was going to say with what everybody can do. It doesn't take a lot. I met Lisa sort of brief when she started doing this before she got into OPPT, and I've probably known Lisa longer than anyone else here, I think. But I got to know Lisa, and I understood her Model 3, and I got to know some of the people that I've worked with around the world, the various journalists, the various people, Sasha. There's just, to me, it occurs to me that it doesn't take, don't have to have huge amounts of money and resources to be able to reach out and make a difference. You know, everybody has a different purpose. Everybody has a different path. Everyone has a different plan. Most important thing to understand is here and now, this time, the purpose we've chosen when coming into this life is to make this world a better place. That's it. That's for me is common denominator amongst everybody that I am coming into contact now. And understand that before anything else, find that purpose within yourself, and you'll find what it is you're meant to do and to contribute to creating what it is we need to create in order to have this free, fair, just, sustainable world that we also desperately know can exist.
Beautiful. Does anybody have any questions they want to come up and ask, either Mel or Sasha? Lisa Harrison, maybe?
Oh, good.
Nothing specific? Anybody? Okay. Yeah, come on. Or you want me to just ask it?
I just wondered,
Hold on, I got a question for you guys.
hi, my name is Dan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All of your statements were wonderful things. As a member of the audience, I'm sitting here visualizing, okay, what am I going to do now? All these wonderful things are about to come, and that I may very like to be able to be a part of. I envision that and stuff. But tomorrow, what is my touch point? Is it just personally declaring my freedom from fear?
Good place to start.
Do you understand what I'm trying to get across?
Yes, totems and the need to extricate yourself from totems. One of the biggest totems is money, and that is again hangs over human beings principally in the fear context through something called taxation, which is the opposite of what the totem of money should be, which is a totem of prosperity and abundance. And the business of paying taxes fundamentally is something we all have control over. So consider that, look closely at how you are engaging in feeding that Babylonian complex through literally paying for it. That's one. The declaration of sovereignty is an important one. The need to begin to look at your birth bond and understand your bond in slavery, and to begin to challenge the relevant so-called authorities, none of which are authorities. They are all again interposed. They are all of them in treason. In derogation and abrogation of every form of law known to humanity. So standing in that light and really standing up and feeling empowered just in becoming aware is hugely important. I would sit with that for a while until that becomes your nature, so that when you walk out the door you actually carry that power, that majesty, that clarity, that noble expression. So it's not just a kind of, a feeling that you inspire yourself for a day or two and then go back into the rat race. I would say don't feel that you need to go out and make a change tomorrow in the explicit world. Rather, really hold this energy of becoming awakened within, and really investigate that beautiful inner scape, that inner landscape which will emerge, because that is the subspace place where the new light, the new fifth dimensional, however you want to look at it, the new celestine energies are able to fill this world through the inner spaces that we create within the human heart. Don't let go of that. It's not so much about us getting on the streets and throwing rocks at the castle. It's more about us apprehending the fact that it's an inner, transformative process, more so than it is an external process. I don't know if I got across clearly there.
No, you did, Sasha. I'm really glad that you said that, because we're actually getting ready to have a discussion after this call on sovereignty, self-governance, and the one people. one of the things we're going to be talking about is how sovereignty, what it truly is a state of being. You declare your sovereignty and then you be in your sovereignty. And when enough people declare their sovereignty and they be in that space, and they allow their external reality to be created from that space from within, then the world changes very quickly. And it's just a matter of being in that mindset. I think there's a lot of people that they really want to, myself included. What are my next action steps? I'm constantly calling all you guys. We're constantly trying to set up these discussions because it represents a form of action and conversations that need to be had. And we're all at various levels of our own growth and of our own understanding, and each one is in its own state of utter perfection when we step back and stop judging it, and when we just allow everything to be, but don't continue to, like you said, pay energy to the things that are no longer serving us. It does not work. We cannot continue to fund that which is holding us back, and that's what we involuntarily do when we do things such as pay taxes and continue to pay on our credit cards and mortgages. And I realize that some of these things our various family members will find socially unacceptable, but if it is our truth and we know it to be right, then we need to be able to release whatever fear of judgment, fear of chastisement, fear of anything that could potentially occur external as a detriment to how we identify ourselves. Identity is a function of the ego. And so these declarations, these internal declarations, are one of the most important pieces of the puzzle we can all collectively make right now. And being in that space is what spreads that message. Words oftentimes are not even necessary. So I'm really glad that you highlighted the importance of our internal work. And we've proven multiple times over on this tour that if there's always much internal work to be done on so many levels. And it allows us to operate in such greater harmony when we are in that place of understanding that the internal work is what allows us to have an external and manifest external harmony with ourselves and with those that are around us. So thank you for making that point. Mel, did you want to respond to that question as well?
Yeah, I did actually, because I think apart from everything that's going on around us and outside of us, if you're going to make a difference and you're going to step out and you're going to do that from a place of truth, center, and balance, you've got to start also taking care of yourself. Freeing yourself also means freeing yourself from absolutely everything. That means poisons and toxins, both from information and from food. So my advice to anybody waking up tomorrow morning, you want to do something good for yourself, start the day by starting one day, just the first day, having a day of eating completely raw and detoxing all the rubbish from your system, because that actually causes a lot of emotional, energetic, and spiritual blocks. And the information and things you can perceive intuitively are actually blocked by a lot of the stuff that we put into our system. So, start from the basics. One of my favorite things that I learned from Henry Tucci Giraffe was always start with what you know. And where do we start if we want to do anything? We've got to have good health before we can do anything. So start there. And, it goes without saying, good health comes a little bit of exercise, but also with, managing stress and a fair amount of what I call spiritual, emotional maturity, allowing that to evolve and doing the work, going within, going through the fire, not judging yourself too harshly, accepting that we all are all awfully flawed individuals, and that's okay. And coming to understand and accept yourself, because we've been taught by media and society to hate ourselves, that we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not this enough, because if we are, we can't be sold to, we cannot be marketed to, we cannot be made to buy the crap that we don't need. So that's, for me, the two things that you can start doing immediately is deprogramming yourself and reprogramming your body and systems with good food, because that, let me tell you, is the core for absolutely everything else you want to go out there and do. Some of the people that I've worked with, and I can pick up energetically when they've been eating poorly, because it actually affects their ability to deal with things on an emotional level. You know, so it affects every level of your existence. So that would be my first place to start for anybody immediately wanting to make a difference. You're not going to go out there and free everybody tomorrow, but certainly start by freeing your own body and your own mind from the pharmaceutical crack and poisoning that's in food.
Awesome. I think we have another question here for you guys.
I get the spiritual part of it. I don't get the paperwork part of it. Okay? Because when you get pulled over and you got to deal with the matrix, whatever you want to call it, you have to know how to handle it. So, how do you do that?
Correct. Well, you have to give us a scenario because there's going to be about 12 million different scenarios. Which one are you talking about? Let's look at it. Let's drill into it. But I mean, it's not really the question. The question is one of fear or fearlessness, and which side of the equation are you orienting your spiritual dimension and your noble expression? Because wherever you cast your mind, the body will follow. So it's really not about what the particular event is. All of us are subject to the harvest of innocence right now. We are each of us part of a culling process. Our family, our loved ones, our friends are all being culled systematically and systemically right now by the behemoth that we have allowed into being because of that paralysis that we keep imposing on ourselves. And I mean, I've had this on a number of occasions when I've been apprehended by police. I was pulled over, actually, Mel, on my way to Amsterdam last year at the conference. That night, I was trying to get to Amsterdam in a car. I'd been driving to London. I was stopped by 3 squad cars, guys with guns. And, you know, I ended up, they thought I was some rich drug dealer. They were carrying stuff in the boot of the car because I had long hair and I was going pretty fast. I wasn't exactly breaking the limit. It was late at night. In any event, the bottom line is when they did stop me and I refused to get out of the car, refused to comply with them, spoke to them very politely, put them all on notice and explained to them they had one of 2 options: pull the trigger, kill me, in which case they had a shitstorm ahead of them, or listen very, very keenly to what I had to say through 2 inches of my window being rolled down. And I began to explain to these Dutch police, these gentlemen, and a couple of police women. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Seth.
Talk soon, guys.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yay. Cool. Awesome. Was there any other questions for any of us? We're gonna, what time is it?
4 and 9.
Another question?
What is the 1260 time code? That's the
That's
question.
my prayer.
Yeah.
12 hours in a day,
60
60 minutes,
It's also the Gregorian calendar.
in an hour.
We switched to 13.
Embrace the Mayan calendar.
Isn't that
1320. Yeah.
So,
That's based on the basic moon cycle. And you know, for me, the day always started when the sun came up, and when the sun came down.
even when it's daylight savings.
You know, it's not hard to fall into natural time because the sun goes up, it comes down.
There's been countless attempts just in the last 120 years to get us off the 1260 calendar and on the 1320 calendar. And these movements have gone through different levels of parliament, they've gone through government, and every single time it gets squashed by the day. And it's today. And apparently it's a completely artificial harmony. The creation itself seems to vibrate as this little. And when we allow ourselves to harmonize with that,
That's up.
It's not a headset.
So repeat that if you don't mind, what you said about we raising that better with what time, what I missed the last little bit.
Just that it's an artificial harmonic.
The 1260.
The 1260 is
1320.
1320. Yep. Well, if you look at the main calendar, it runs on the 30th. I'm on when we tune to 1260 mentally, everything else about us falls in line, and it's artificial, and it keeps us out of balance, and it essentially keeps us spiritually shut off. But when you look at as I said, I don't know, a dozen or more attempts to get back to a calendar and a time frame that's more in tune, it's the Vatican that always manages to squash it. And what we're living on is completely accurate.
Because if they change it, they can't siphon our energy more than Right. Do you understand the third? I still don't know if you're clear. I feel like you're not clear on the 13.
No, I'm not clear.
Right.
Well, 13 months, it's the more of a lunar cycle. So the 1260 is, 60 seconds to a minute, 60 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, I need that. Right, get it.
And cycles of 20 days. Leading to 360 total for a year, for a calendar year.
We just vibrate better than that. It's an energetic type. Yeah.
Is this the official start of our Q&A section?
I guess.
I just lean into it. I don't think we need to.
How long is a year?
360 days. Am I going to that right?
260. It's a
260. There's a 260 cycle, there's a 360 cycle.
So basically, you're saying you go to 360 instead of 65? And then what?
Well, you probably get a number of ways. Yeah.
I'm just going to answer this.
What do I have this for?
answer question.
What was the question?
Ask him a question.
I have I'm sorry, this is going to probably lead back to the question that I posed Sasha and Mel, but one of the things I wrote down while I was listening to everybody was, with 2 question marks, interaction with the existing world, question mark.
Interaction with the existing world.
So, yeah, and I know that relates to fear. I know that relates to many things that you've already covered. But at some point, I mean, we're all have faced with that to one degree or another as we make this transition or not.
And the question?
How do we deal with interaction with the existing world?
Um,
Do I need to be more specific than that? Or?
I believe what has to happen before anything, is that shift, that internal shift
Okay.
that happens inside you. If you're afraid, if you have a victim mentality, okay, the world is out to get me, and I have no power to control it. There are certain actions that you will not engage in. There are certain things that you will do. You act from that space of where your being, where your internal being is. Here's an example. There's a man, and he spent most of his life as an average student. He graduated. He got a job at a local gas station where he was a mechanic. And while he was doing his job, he had an accident. He actually crushed his hand. He had to go for emergency surgery and everything. But during the process, somehow he got to see his medical records. And in the medical records, it showed what his IQ was. And his IQ was genius level. He was a genius. He never knew what his IQ was. But 2 years after that, he was a millionaire. Because something internally shifted in him where he began to act like a genius. Because he knew that he was. And everything about what he did and how he interacted changes. Once you make that internal shift, There is no guideline that you need. There is no manual that you need, because you will automatically do what sovereign beings do, because that's how you feel. You know, there's certain things that, you know, I just don't engage myself in because of the shift that's occurred inside of me. And all action comes from that place. All thought comes from that place of being. All you're doing comes from your being. So when you address your being, what state of being are you in? You address everything else. Every action, every response is contained within the being, in that state of being. So what we try to encourage is empowerment and helping people understand their true value and their self-worth, and stepping into that state of being that I am sovereign. You know, being in that state of being, you can have two reactions. Some, say a cop, suddenly, you know, you see the red lights in your rear view, right? Well, from my state of being, well, here comes some guy in a costume who's going to pretend, right, that he has authority over me, that he's up here and I'm down here. But I'm looking at him, he's just another man. He's got 2 arms, 2 legs, you know, whatever. He's in a fancy costume, he's got a silver badge. But that's all I see. And I'm not going to behave as though he is up here and I'm down here. I'll be respectful, I'll be kind, I'm not going to be rude. That's not in my state of being either. But I am also not going to, let me kiss your ass. That's not in my state of being. So my response to that scenario will be different for someone who is completely afraid, who feels that they're down here and the police are up here. Their response, their actions, and everything is going to come from that state of being. So the most important thing that anybody can do is choose how to be, and everything else will follow.
I got nothing on that. That's exactly what it is. You know, when you shift within yourself, you shift everything external, because you create your external reality from and everything you experience internally. I don't get pulled over. And it's been a really long time. I actually haven't had to deal with getting pulled over without tags yet. I haven't had to. I don't worry about getting pulled over. I follow the standard traffic policies and codes, not laws. And I just don't even think about it. It's not in my frame of awareness, worrying about the police. I just don't. And that's probably a big part of the reason why I don't get pulled over. I'm not driving around in fear of getting pulled over.
Yeah, you tend to become invisible to yourself.
Okay. Oh, sorry, did you have?
I was just going to say, you refer to it as what, the real world or the outside world? Or that line blurs more and more and more.
Well, it's also separate. The things that you are addressing, they're very great, but they don't address the specific issues that are in my mind, so I just thought I would mention what is such a burden on my personal self. I haven't paid taxes for 13 years. I covered that a long, long time ago. Mostly from the standpoint of I just couldn't do what I wanted to do with my family if I had to pay the damn taxes. So I had to figure out a way.
That's why I stopped too.
Huh?
That's why I originally stopped too.
Yeah.
I just continued to not once I knew what was going on.
Yeah, but okay, my burdensome interaction with the existing world, this is my perception of what I'm going through, is that I have responsibilities to those who I support, my family.
Who said you had responsibility?
Me.
Well, you
That's
already
right.
said the key word.
What?
Perception.
Yeah, okay.
You perceive, I had that perception that I had obligations to all these other people external to myself.
Yeah.
And it was just a perception, honestly. You place that perception upon yourself. You accept that obligation that it's my job to make this person happy, to please that person, or whatever. Once I made that shift, and I realized that my only responsibility to anyone's happiness, to anyone's well-being, is myself. They are responsible. You cannot create someone else's reality. You can't do it. I've tried. I've tried. I've got family that are still Jehovah's Witnesses and still think that I'm the devil's son. I love my family dearly, right? And I wish I could just make them understand, but you can't. You cannot create their reality. Everyone is creating their own reality, and the only one that I can focus on is my own. So I don't accept the responsibility of someone else's happiness, someone else's well-being. I will do what I can to assist, right? But ultimately, everyone must take on, and this is the conversation we were going to have about self-governance. It requires 100% acceptance of your own responsibility for your own life experience. No one else. No one else. There is no one or no one person or one thing that you can point to and say, it's their fault I'm in this situation. Because everyone creates their experience from within. Your life experience is of your own creation. So what I let people know in absolute transparency is I'm not taking that responsibility for your happiness or your well-being. That's your responsibility. I'm here to share what I have, what gifts that I have. If you wish to use them to empower yourself and accept your own responsibility, I'm happy to help you do that. But it is not my responsibility to save anyone. It's not my responsibility to make anyone happy. It is not my responsibility for anyone else's well-being. It is not my responsibility to create their heaven. It's my responsibility to create my own. And the best person that I can be is when I'm happy, when I have satisfied all of my needs, because you simply can't give something away that you don't have. If you're insecure within yourself, how are you going to make someone else secure? If you don't have happiness within yourself, how are you going to make someone happy? You can't give what you don't have. The best thing that you can do for yourself is to be self-sufficient, happy within yourself. And then you can share that. It will overflow. And that will make you a better father, a better husband, a better friend, a better everything. It has been vilified in our society to be, quote-unquote, self-centered. But in a 3D paradigm, there is nothing else possible. You cannot see through someone else's eyes. The color green that you see and the color green that I see are two different colors. So how could I ever say I'm doing something for you when I have no idea what your experience is internally? I only know how I would feel if I saw you go this way or go that way. We don't do good things for other people for them. We do good things for other people because it makes us feel good. And that is where self-responsibility is, and that's where it ends. All of your responsibility ends and begins with you. Anything else is an illusionary perception.
I get that. However, that was not the responsibility I was talking about.
What responsibility are we talking about?
Financial.
Okay, explain.
I have family, kids, and in-laws to support. And it requires a great deal of time and effort.
Based on what? Based on the idea that I have to pay their tuition, I have to pay their student loans, I have to pay my student loans, I have to pay my taxes, I have to pay. Those are all, when you really understand, when you truly understand the nature of the matrix, you understand that really all those obligations that you've taken on were never yours. They were never yours. You've accepted them as your own, but they're not yours. I would immediately start to take a look at my financial situation and saying, what do I really owe anyone? What do I really owe? What have they given me that wasn't already mine? And you're going to find nothing. Nothing.
Are you talking about the financial institution?
Financial institutions. Yeah, I stopped paying my loans, I stopped paying my taxes, I stopped paying virtually everything. Even my electric bill, my courtesy notice. So, what I have left, I mean, it doesn't take very much to take care of myself. Yeah, I still have to buy food, right? Because I haven't gotten, and I'm working on it. And we will crack it, right? How we can go into the grocery store and present our value as ourselves, as our own being for food. Self-sustainability, I mean, most of the food that we need, we can grow our own, and that's one way to address it. But once you start to move into that new paradigm, you're going to find that wealth is not measured by how much you have. It's measured by how little you need. And you don't need much. I don't need much to be happy. And once you reevaluate what is really important in your life, and what it is that you're actually paying into, and what you can stop paying into, and start paying into yourself and what's really important to you, you'll find that there's always more than enough to go around.
Also, on that, I mean, we all know how you feel. Well, everybody in this room, I'm sure, has felt an obligation to someone else in their life, whether it be their wife, their child, their girlfriend, their niece, nephew, whatever it might be. What we find is that my personal experience, I knew I had to quit my job. I knew it. I knew it wasn't serving me any longer, but it was my source of financial stability. So obviously, I knew well before I read Jake's book that I needed to figure out an exit strategy. It was just reading that book that reflected my truth back to me that allowed me to make the decision that I needed to make. I had no idea how I was going to get by. I just knew I had to go. And so I stood in that. And I told my boss, who I told was, I promised him into his eyes that I was going to be the guy to, bring this company in this area back into what he thought it was potentially able to become. And when I handed him the book that I read, and I told him that when he reads it, hopefully he'll understand why I had to put in my 2-week notice. I told this story in Oslo. Yeah. He just told me how proud of me he was. Point of the story being is that when I stood in that truth, the universe lined everything up for me. It brought my blog into focus, so I got revenue there. It encouraged me to expand my Reiki practice, and every dollar I've needed has been there in abundance. And that was because I attracted that experience to myself, and I was able to release myself from the shackles of what was bringing me friction in my life. So I think that what we probably all have a story like that, where we walked away from something that was a challenge, and then two more doors opened when one door was closed. And I think that ultimately what that is it's the universe saying, yeah, stand in your truth. You will always be rewarded. Always.
And it is in time.
This is going to be, this is a real hard pill to swallow. I mean, at least it was for me, but I finally did swallow it and I got it down. Do you believe that you create your own reality? Do you believe it or do you know it? Because if you are always in the act of creation, if you are worried about how you're going to make ends meet and sustain your family, what are you creating? And the key to absolute abundance is to let go of that worry. That is what you're creating. The only reason why you have that issue is because you're worried about that issue. And the key to getting rid of that issue is to release the fear around it. And once the fear around it is released, you know, here's my godson. He's known me a long, long time. And I used to take him strays like crazy. He was one of them. Right? And I always had to, you know, I don't know how, I never worried about how I was going to pay for all the people that were living in my house. I was literally funding my own, you know, homeless shelter for a long time.
501c3.
How many people were living in?
I don't know, like 15 of us?
Right? I was the only one working. And every week and every month, everybody ate, everybody drank, bills were paid, heat was on. How did I do it? I have no idea. How do we do this? You know, how are we getting to Australia, Lisa? We have no fucking clue. All we know is that's what we're going. We don't worry about those things. So in not worrying, we don't create those problems. And that ultimately is the key to all of it. You know, what's the key to dealing with the outside world is eliminating fear. And I can't stress that enough. That is a state of being. I'm not creating fear anymore. And by not creating fear, it becomes the ultimate protection. Because nothing fearful can enter into my field without it being transformed or being repelled.
Amen.
Now if there's spiders. Just want to put it out there, spiders can't see.
I wanted to dovetail a little bit on what y'all just said because, you know, everything is perception. And perception for me has been a big subject in my life lately. But see, for eons now, we have been in a codependent society, okay? And when we're taking care of everyone else but ourselves, we're in that codependent realm, okay? Now we're moving into an interdependent society, which is exactly what Bob was just describing. I think the key thing for myself, and everything I say to myself really more than anyone else, is this is the question. I think this is the main question for every being on this planet. What do you want? If you walked up to every person, now this room is probably an exception, but I guarantee you, even if you walked up to me, I'd have to fine tune it. I'd have to go, wait a minute, hold on. But the key is, what do you want? Well, we all want freedom. That's a simple one. So how are you going to get there?
You don't
And
get
this is
it
what
by
this is about.
focusing on how enslaved you are.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't. You just got to let it go.
What I found everyone really wants is it's really simple. It's just happiness.
Yeah.
Everybody just wants to be happy.
Freedom.
Freedom brings happiness. Free to be and do as we so please without limit is what brings, it sets the stage for happiness. One of my favorite quotes about worry. Release the habit of worry in all its forms. By making a general blanket decision, nothing life has to offer is worth the price of worry. With this decision will come poise, peace of mind, and calmness of thought, which will bring happiness. How much do we worry about? You know? and releasing that and just letting it all go. And then the beautiful part is, as conscious observers of our own mind and thoughts, we have the ability to see when we're in a state of worry or fear. And when you see that within yourself, you then have a choice. Squash it, or let it turn into the big angry beast that it can. So, being in that space of conscious observer allows us to constantly be reflecting upon what it is that we are aligning within ourselves and constantly working on it.
One of the things I want to say, what I call worry is literally praying for something you don't want.
Yeah.
That's what worry is. And your real question is, how do I overcome my fears? And the answer to that is prove it for yourself. Because once you prove it for yourself, you can stop believing it. And you'll know. And the only way that you can do that is to face those fears. And that, I can't, there's no quick solution, there's no way that you finagle around that. There's just no way. I wish there was.
Damn,
The only way out is through.
Why don't you do it for me?
But ultimately, everyone has to face their fear. But what I've noticed about the whole idea of fear is like this big, huge, menacing bubble. And if you walk into it, it will pop. Literally. That's all it is. It looks huge. It looks, oh my God, look at this big thing in front of me. But all you have to do is just go.
I don't think I have so much trouble with fear as just getting this out provides clarity.
The more conversations you have like this, the more you can express yourself like this, the less fear you have. It's equivalent to emotional tapping. I don't know if you, but having these conversations like that energetically is energetic tapping. And the more that you do it, the more comfortable. For me, I learned through teaching. Okay? So I get up and I teach what I've read this. I haven't embodied it completely. I'm going to teach it until I do. And the more that I teach and the more, because my mom told me something a long time ago when my best friend died, when I was 18 years old in a car accident. And she didn't know how to console me. I was inconsolable. And she goes, at times like this, the only thing I can tell you is sometimes the best way to help yourself is to help someone else. So my advice to you in overcoming your fear, if you really want to overcome your fear, help someone else overcome theirs.
Makes sense.
Any other questions? Did you enjoy the presentation?
Someone said I'm the song dance man. I don't know what that means. Where's Jim? We said at the beginning that the reason why we do these things, with awareness and with information comes empowerment. And, I know, you see these videos like this New Earth Project. Like, I want it now, What can I do to help create that? Caleb Skinner made a beautiful assessment when we were in Norway. He said, the problem with Atlantis was that there was only one of them. We're in the process of building multiple Atlantises. Why? Because there's a range of different kinds of people that want different things in this world. You can't make one global village and expect it to be the perfect living situation for everybody. So what we're doing in this is we're creating multiple Atlantises. Some people, they like to be leaders. Other people like to follow. You know, just tell me what I need to do in order for me to find that place of happiness and stillness within. I don't really care who's organizing the schedule or telling, you know, keep making sure things continue to flow. That doesn't work for everybody. You know, one of the really exciting parts about going to Morocco next is that part of what's in the plans is to get one of these first truly self-sustainable, off-the-grid communities going. And working with Sasha, and working with Michael Tellinger, and working with Mel, and working with all these other people that have access to the various things that we'll need in order to make this happen, and for that to become a reality. But it's going to take cooperation and collaboration from all sorts of different people. So really one of the biggest things that I hope to see with this website that we're putting together is that there will be a platform where people can connect with each other. You know, people are connecting on, you know, people connect in the millions or billions now on Facebook every day. But I think that when we pay conscious attention into creation, into projects, we can get so much done. It was amazing to watch this thing unfold in Norway, where, you know, you had this guy up there and he's showcasing his electrical technology to power bicycles, for, you know, all those third world countries, they ride their bicycles everywhere, they're tired. You know, he has this thing that will, you know, it's a free energy device that will power bicycles. And he goes, you know, I could showcase it tomorrow, but I don't have this one piece. Well, we got 150 people here. What piece do you need? He's like, well, I need this coupler that's like 3.5 inches, and it's this and that. And the guy's like, hey, I got one of those. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. You have one of those? I don't even know what that thing is, but he brought it and he made it and he demoed it and it was awesome. You know, had we not set the stage for that collaboration, those two people probably would have never connected. All you have to do, think about what it would be like if we got a stadium of people, 36,000 people, these footballs, they pack into some of these football stadiums, and you put calls out like that. You know, who in here is a carpenter? You know, who in here has a plan for how to re-educate our children? You know, whatever it might be. We have all of the resources. We have all the skills. We have all the connections. We have all of the ability. All between us, what we need is that fabric that connects us. That's really the only missing ingredient, is the dang fabric that connects us. And so, you know, this is what pushed me down this line of work was the awesomeness of, you know, so many cultures from our past thousands of years ago, all pointing to this time of being a time of great change and having no connection to each other. But 2012, 2013 era as being this major shift in consciousness. You know, it's this shift in our DNA, it's this shift in consciousness that we have to always make sure we're accounting for. We don't give some people enough credit. The shift in consciousness is steering their awakening process, no matter what you perceive them to be or not. Everybody is on their path to awakening. Some people, you know, they've gotten a crash course a little bit earlier than others. But we have this shift in energy that's guiding on every level, everything that's developing. Trust me, every detail is accounted for. No matter how chaotic or off track or we're behind schedule or any of those perceptions, trust me, we're on perfect schedule. Because that's all the universe knows. It's a state of utter perfection always. And so does it matter what you do? It really doesn't. You could sit on the couch eating potato chips for the next 5 years. Trust me, the plan's not going to get stalled. But it's a lot more fun when we collaborate, we cooperate, and we make the decision to work together. It just makes life more fun. We were talking about this earlier last night, Justin, Julie, in the Into the Wild movie, where the kid just gets so sick of the system that he burns all his money, junks his car, and he goes to Alaska, and he's in the wilderness, and, you know, hunting for his food, and he ends up dying out there. But as he was dying, the story, the movie is amazing. I realize I was painted it as making this depressing movie, but it's a beautiful movie. And one of the realizations he had, and he had a diary while he was out there, was it's just not as fun to experience alone. It's so much more fun when we do it together. You have someone to share it with, like Richie Rich over there, on this tour. That's where we get our happiness. That's where we get our joy. When we work together, and we collaborate together, and when we say, I don't care what you say, I don't care what you do, I love you both unconditionally. There's nothing in this world that can change that. And then you create from that space. That space of allowing each other to just be who we are without judgment. You just create from that space. And it's only as challenging as we make it. And but it is challenging. But through those challenges, it's great growth and expansion. Look at this tour. I mean, some of the craziest challenges on this damn tour. But they work out, don't they? Every single detail works out. You want to talk again?
You'll get to the point where you're not even focusing on creating anything. You're just being. You're just being yourself. There's no need to create anything in particular, because within my being, everything that supports that being will be there for me. So it becomes real simple. You're just living. You're living and there's not a lot of work involved in it. It becomes part of your nature for miracles to happen. It becomes part of your nature for everything just to work out in your favor.
Do what you love to do.
And all it is really is the ability to accept yourself and love yourself fully. Everything else will flow from that. Once you reach that point, there's no need to make any specific creation at all. You're just being. You're being yourself.
As Bashar said, follow your highest excitement. That message changed my life. Follow your highest excitement.
Can I just add something?
Absolutely not, Anita. But go ahead.
Because, and not that it's an issue for me, but what you're saying is absolutely right. Those of us who have been conditioned to be going through our lives by judgments made by other people, that's a fear also. And that's a big fear for a lot of people my age.
Worry about what other people think.
Worrying about what other people think. I live in an apartment complex, which is a senior citizen complex. And everybody there is worried about what everybody else thinks, what they're doing, whether they're the church they're going to, whether they're friends with so-and-so.
And give them something to really think about.
I mean, really, that's a real place to be.
Part of the programming is that we get our they encode us to get our identity off the judgments of others, externally, or the validation of others.
If you watch TV, and I don't watch a lot of it anymore, but have you ever noticed what the new programs are? They're all judging or they're up against each other. There isn't any cohesive program out there, harmony, that they're going by the wayside. It's becoming so much more and more. And it really is, with the older generations, they have been so conditioned to live their lives that way. They're afraid of being different. I'm one of the rebels, but I'm always been a rebel. So I can't share with them what I'm thinking and doing because they're judging me.
Well, you can.
Sure you
You
can.
Well, I think
can.
that's why we're there.
They might not understand you,
Yeah.
but you're energetically creating that space, right?
That's
You,
right.
you help people understand that judgment from others matters not.
They're very accepting of me, but when I express my opinions, it's like, they have no idea. They have no idea where I'm going. And so it's kind of frustrating for me, but you're right, I'm probably because I'm your
One of the
common.
one of the common threads amongst a lot of us is we battle. We have battled, some of us, because some of us have gotten through it with the attachment to feeling that we need to be understood.
Yeah.
And that's a real big one to let go
That's a little bit
of.
of a problem for me. See, that's why I probably could share a lot more with them. I mean, they would be polite and listen. But I know they don't understand. And that's exactly why I don't share more than I do.
Yeah.
I have some input on her
Please.
situation. I've dealt with a couple of people that I would, in my understanding, are similar to your situation, where they can't receive all of this stuff in a general fashion because they're so programmed in a different reality. But if you talk with them long enough and just relate to them on a feeling basis rather than an information basis, some specific has always come up where they are feeling the pain of being like they are. And when you identify that and propose an alternative, all of a sudden they begin to say, "Oh God," or they say, "Oh, I see that," But the general stuff just doesn't make a dent. But when you find that some one thing that relates to them, even if they are generally not aware of it until it gets brought up because of like your transparency, and I'm not talking about transparency of divulging all this information and rattling off all. I'm talking about on a feeling nature, talking about fears and that type of a thing, where something gets laid bare, and then all of a sudden you have something to express to them that makes a difference to them.
Yes, you're right in that regard. I just recently had a conversation with someone there.
Like that, yeah.
And it flowed along that line. Well, actually, it was more on.
And the difference.
They were complaining about Christmas or something, and I gave them my view on buying gifts, and I said, the gift we should be giving each other all year long is kindness and generosity as much as we can all year round. It shouldn't be just one time of the year. And they get really tight. I mean, most people have limited income. They have this big list of people they're buying for, and they're probably skipping meals so that they can afford to buy these things. It's such a crazy thing.
To keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah, I don't do that. I mean, it's just not in my perspective anymore.
Yeah.
But when I told them what I thought, they agreed with me so much. Oh yes, that's right. That's really what we should be doing. Isn't that what the message that the church or whatever that they belong to, isn't that what they're telling you to do? To be good to each other, blah blah blah. But I don't go out on that limb too often because I want to be able to talk to these people.
You start with a simple question like, did you know that 13 Illuminati bloodline families create super soldiers to hold 60% of the world population? Something soft and delicate that you can easily
Listen, I get it when I go to I love going to the pool. I have a pool here. I'm in the pool every day all summer long, at least once during the day. And so I sometimes meditate when I'm in the pool. And I have had people come up so many times and ask me if I'm all right. Are you all right? Because they can't imagine that, but that is such a place to live.
You know what's going to happen though, is your stillness and your wholeness of your being, they are going to want to know what it is you're on. And they're going to want some.
They do. Are you outside?
I think you're talking about
And then eventually they're going to come to you. They're going to say, what the F is your secret?
I don't even see that happening too much.
But you get to create that if you wish.
Yeah.
And what I got too when you said that earlier was I just got this sentence, and it was paying attention to what other people think of you puts you in your own personal prison.
Yes.
Yes.
I used to have a really tough time with the attacks and emails and stuff that I get on my blog and on Facebook. Oh my God, this person, you're not even going to believe what they said to me. Now I laugh and I read them as something to laugh about around the fire too, you know, on this tour, because, you know, we're always going to be misunderstood by someone. Always. And everybody sees the world through their own little window of perception. And all we really truly have control over is the window we choose for ourselves. Because through everyone's little window, their actions are warranted, their values are good, what they did was necessary, they weren't wrong, you know, and it's a futile process trying to paint pictures in other people's windows.
I never tried to paint pictures.
Well, no, what I'm saying is paying any energy into what their perception is.
Wisdom from Medea. She said, never you mind what people call you. People are going to be calling you all kinds of names from the day you're born till you die. It's not what people call you, it's what you answer to.
Yeah, that is a Medea line, isn't it?
Good accent too. Sound effects today were pretty on point also, but okay, so it's looking like it's about that time. And I just want to, on behalf of all of us, thank you guys for coming and being a part of this. And you know, it's amazing to see. You know, we come into these, we have no idea what to expect. We designed it that way because we release all expectations everywhere we go. But it's really amazing to have the connections and be able to meet people in density face to face and share energy and to participate. So from the bottom of our hearts, we're extremely grateful. And it's not goodbye, it's we'll see you later. And deepest bows, all of you, is all I can really say. Thank you, namaste. Yeah, and we love you guys, and we know we'll see you soon. And let's make this thing what it is, what it's supposed to be. A freaking adventure and fun. You know, let's make this world an adventure and enjoy it and have fun with it and be excited about it and then just be in that space. And there's nothing we can't do. Nothing.
All right.
Bob says he loves you. Lisa said the same. Thanks, guys.